Hello everybody again, and welcome back to Chris Bosch Props. I really wanted to dive in and start working on my Robocop suit, but because of my recent growth, I've been getting a lot of private emails asking me how to get into 3D printing. So I thought I would do a video and share with you guys step by step exactly what to expect if you're new to this when it comes to 3D printing, so that you can make your dreams come true and have the suit of your dreams. It doesn't have to just be a Robocop suit. It can be a Robocop suit. It could be a Halo suit. It could be an Iron Man suit. It could be a Batman suit. It's endless. Today we have 3D modelers that are just absolutely amazing when it comes to modeling. The accuracy in terms of props and the 3D model world, I think, are at its highest, and it's only growing. So this is just not limited to Robocop. Now, the question I do get asked is, do you need experience to get into 3D printing? And I think some of you get confused with 3D printing to 3D modeling. You don't have to be a 3D modeler to get into 3D printing. 3D modeling is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. You can learn to do it, but if you were to jump right into that with no experience, it's not going to be easy. But 3D printing in and of itself is pretty easy. I started 3D printing back in 2016, and I had zero experience. I knew nothing about 3D printing. It was a rather, I wouldn't say a new technology, but it hadn't been around very long. But I knew in my mind I wanted a Robocop suit, and I wanted one bad. So when I started doing the research at that time, the only people that made Robocop suits, at least 3D models of it, was Do 3D. So I grabbed a Do 3D model. I didn't care. I knew nothing about it, and I found the best printer of that time, and I learned how to do it. So my point is, if you have a passion, if you have a dream, if this is something you really, really want to do, don't worry about your experience. You'll figure it out. And at the current time, there has never been so many resources to help you with 3D printing, with prepping your models, with putting your models together, with finishing them, and achieving the goal of having your dream prop, dream suit, whatever it is. So I am going to stop jabbering, and I'm going to walk you through what to expect when you start 3D printing. I'm going to go from what you need to buy, and what it's going to look like when you first start. So let's hop into it, and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to need to start with, and the first thing you're going to need to get, is your 3D printer. So we're just going to assume that you received your 3D printer, that you put it together. I think the most common question that any 3D printer content creator has is, what's the best printer? That's kind of a hard question to answer, because a lot of these FDM printers do the exact same thing. They print out a model layer by layer by layer, and no matter how good they are, no matter how advanced they are, they still have layer lines, and you still have to do the body work. They do make more advanced printers that are more user-friendly for you, that are easier to start up, and I'll link those below. The model I used for my Robocop suit was the CR10S. So that is what I used to build mine. It is rather antique at this point, but it works. I mean, these old printers work. They require a little bit more manual labor when it comes to, tightening belts, assembling them from factory, but they work. And like my old 1966 Mustang out there, it's old, but it works. It drives just as good as my newer Mustangs. So yeah, don't be afraid of the old models. Would I highly recommend them for anyone at this point? Probably not. But if you can find a good deal for a CR10S on Marketplace, I think I got this one for around $100, and it was practically brand new. So you can find pretty good deals on these days. Also, this Ender 3 right here, it is the antique, ancient Ender 3, but the thing works. They have more advanced Ender 3s. They have so many of them. They have the Pro V2, the S1. I mean, there's like an endless amount of Ender 3s now because the model was just that good, the original one. Same thing with the CR10. They have more advanced features. They have auto bed leveling. They come mostly assembled now. They require just a little bit of assembly, the newer printers. But yeah, you're probably going to want to get a newer CR10 just because it will be more user-friendly. But at this point, this is what you're going to get. This is what we're going to start with. We're just going to pretend that you have your printer, it's assembled. The next thing we need to do is go purchase our models. Okay guys, so the next thing we're going to want to do is purchase our 3D models. Now these 3D models are in virtual reality. They're not in the real world yet. So we have to purchase these models and 3D print them and turn them into a physical object. Now I know you guys heard me mention in my intro that I originally back in 2016 used the Robocop files from Do 3D. Which I did, and I built that suit, but that suit has since been sold, and I made my most current suit that you guys have seen in the past few videos with these files. These are made by Two Night Cinema. His real name is Asin, and he's from the UK, and he just did an absolutely phenomenal job in creating these models. It looks like it just came right out of the movie. So these are the files you're going to want to purchase. They are $40, so they are on sale right now for Black Friday. I would snag those up while you can, and that's what you're going to need. And you'll download those, and once those are downloaded, you'll extract the zip file and start looking at your models, and then we'll import that model into a software where we can cut it up into pieces. So the next thing we're going to do is let's look at our models. Okay guys, I did fail to mention another file you're going to want to get from Asin or Two Night Cinema is his updated upper arms or shoulders and his updated gloves that are made bigger to try to fit your hand through. You're going to want these because they are way more accurate than the models that come with the original suit files. Why he didn't include those with the original suit files, I can't tell you, but he did add the listing for separately. They are $5 right now, so it's not really a whole lot, but this is going to make your suit look a whole lot more accurate, so make sure to purchase these files. Okay guys, so now we need software. This software is what slices up the 3D model so that your 3D printer knows how to run its course to build that model from plastic layer by layer by layer, thousands of layers depending on the piece that you're doing. The software that I've used since 2016 has been Simplify 3D. There's really no catch to Simplify 3D other than you do have to pay for it. There are free softwares out there such as Cura that you can use. There's a little bit slightly more of a learning curve, but there is a lot of resources out there that can help you learn how to use Cura. Simplify 3D just worked right off the bat for me. I didn't have any issues with it. You could pretty much use their standard profiles that they give you. So I'm going to recommend Simplify 3D because that's what I use. It does cost $150, but it's forever yours, and I've been using it since 2016, and it still works without an issue. So let's just say this is the software you're going to buy, and let's get started with it. So you purchased your Simplify 3D, you've opened the software, you're super excited to see your 3D models. You're going to be greeted with something like this, and it's going to allow you to select the printer that you purchased. Now I don't know what printer some of you have purchased. You're going to have to go through and select it. We're just going to play pretend, and we're going to say that you bought the Creality CR10 S Pro V2, which is an amazing starter printer. I highly recommend it just because it's a lot more user friendly than the old CR10s or the CR10S originals that require a little bit more manual labor in getting them up and running and leveling the beds by hand. I believe the Pro V2 has auto bed leveling. It comes mostly assembled, and it comes mainly as one unit. It doesn't have that separate little box on the side, so it's just a lot more convenient when it comes to space and for starting up if you're a newcomer. So we are going to go with the Creality CR10S Pro V2. And that is your bed size, and it's great because it allows you to know if your model fits within the parameters of that printer. So let's import our file. So that's what you'll have to do. You have to import your models wherever you extracted the zip file from CG Trader. You're going to go find that file. For instance, mine is on my desktop. That's where I export everything to my messy desktop. I'm going to open my files. I always like to see the chest armor. The chest armor on the Robocop suit is my favorite piece. And there is a lot of pieces that need to be printed. That's okay. But let's go to the bulk of it and let's see how our chest armor looks. Now we get a little disclaimer here that says cannot auto arrange. Largest part exceeds build dimensions. All that means is the chest piece is not going to fit on that print bed, and that gives us our next dilemma of what I wanted to go into of how to cut these pieces up. But let's look at it, and you could tell right off the bat that it just looks amazing. It's an awesome model, but it does not fit on our print bed. So we need to cut this up and get it printable. So that's the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to show you the software I use to cut my models up to get them to fit on this print bed, and the end result will be multiple pieces, but we can glue it together and turn it into an actual physical object. So the software that I use to cut up my 3D models into multiple pieces is NetFab Basic. Now this software is not readily available anymore. NetFab is now a subscription service. You do not want that because you never own the software. So I will link below this software for you guys to use, and let me show you how I use it. There is multiple ways that you can cut up your models. This is the way that I've always done it. I've used this software since 2016 and I've had nothing but success with it. It's super easy to use that I have never tried any other way of doing it. So let me go ahead and show you and get started. Okay, so we have our software open, and then like Simplify 3D, we will want to open our model. Let's go ahead and find it on our desktop again. So here is the file. We will open the chest armor. And let's import it into the software. So there we go. There's our chest armor. Now what we want to do is cut this into viable pieces that will fit within the parameters of our print bed, and that we can orient correctly so we don't have to use 10 billion supports and waste a lot of material. That's usually the end goal. I think I originally cut this up into like 8 pieces the last go around. I probably would do less now. That was back in 2020 when I started this suit. But let me just show you kind of how the software works. Really easy. You have your model imported in there, and then you can do your Z-axis, and you can make a cut horizontally wherever you want to put it. You can do it vertically, like so. You can come that way with your Y-axis if need be. But we are going to start our first cut. So I'm using the right click on the mouse to kind of orient this the way that I want it. It's not going to affect where the Z-axis is. Either way you go, it's still going to be there, so you don't have to have it like perfectly straight. And let's just say, or let's select our model. We'll make a cut right there. Okay.
that's still not going to fit on our CR10 print bed because it's too long. So let's select it again. So there you go. Now look, we have two separate pieces. It made the cut for us. So you'll hold shift, click with your mouse, and it will select everything. And we are going to want to make a vertical cut down the center, not on that detail line, because we don't want to lose that. Right there, I think, is a good sweet spot. I think that's where I put it when I cut it years ago. So you can see the plane there. We're going to make our cut. So there we go. Now we have 4 pieces. Let's make another cut here. I think that's where I put it on my original one. Okay, so we have our model cut up into several pieces now. I think I also made a cut on these end pieces. I probably wouldn't need to do that. So let's just say that's our cuts, okay? So you got everything cut up. You have your first piece here. You're going to want to export this now. So you'll right click. You'll export it as an STL. You don't want to do this STL, just a regular STL. And I already created a file, but you'll want to create a file on your desktop for where you want to put your files. I think I put mine under another Robocop suit files. So, and I also made a file within that for the chest pieces that we cut up. Let's open that. And I already have it designated for chest cut 1, since that's the first cut. Yes, I want to replace it. So there we go. That's our first cut. You'll go to the next one. This might seem tedious, but this is the way you have to do it. Like I said, if you come this far, you're already dedicated. So we want a chest cut 2. And it's exported. So you have 1, 2, and then you'll do chest cut 3, chest cut 4, chest cut 5, chest cut 8. No, I'm kidding, chest cut 6. So we have 6 pieces here, and that's what we will use to get started 3D printing. So now we have this cut up and it should fit on our print bed. So with that said, let's open Simplify 3D back up. We're back in Simplify 3D now. So let's import our cut up files. So let's go to that file that we made for our cut up pieces now, which is Robocop suit files. You can name yours whatever you please. You can put it wherever you want. I know I'm still using ancient Windows 7, so you probably have Windows 10. I don't even know what the highest one is now. It doesn't matter. They pretty much do the same thing. So let's go to our piece. Let's open chest cut 1. So we are looking really good. So it put it on the flattest side. But you can put this however you want it, as long as you have a flat edge. In Simplify 3D, you can go to Edit. You can go to Place Surface on Bed. Now wherever you click, it's going to place it. Okay, so if I want to put it on this flat edge, it's going to orient it like that. But if we do that, we're going to need a lot of supports because our nozzle is not going to be able to print that bridge there. Like if I was to generate my supports, look how much supports we're going to have to use. So that's still going to be plastic material and we're going to waste a lot. So we don't want to do that. Let's clear the supports. I kind of liked it the way that it actually dropped it in. So we need to place this surface right here. You just click wherever you want, as long as it's on this flat surface here. Boom, it's right there like that. Okay, now it's not centered anymore because of what I did, so we go back to Edit and we could center the model again like so. Now that's a pretty good angle right there. I probably honestly don't even need supports, but it could tip over, so I think a little bit of supports would be good. Now, a 45-degree angle is not the max that I use. I probably would go 70 degrees or 65 degrees. So let's just do 70 and let's see what it generates. So that's not really a whole lot of supports there. That ain't too bad. We can even, let's clear that. Let's do a 65. Let's go a little bit less. That's going to give us more supports. And that's still not very many supports. So that's just going to help keep the model from falling over and also keep it printing properly so we don't have a lot of saggy spaghetti print lines from the nozzle. So let's go to done. Okay, I think we're ready to try to print this. It fits within our print bed. I like the way it's oriented. If you don't, all you have to do is click this thing, this turntable, and you can turn it however you want. I'm going to leave mine like that. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so before we get started, I go to my edit process settings. These are the settings I use. I do about 20% infill. So what infill is it's basically hollowing the model so that it doesn't print completely solid and you don't use a whole lot of material. 20% and 25% are kind of a sweet spot for me. Let's see here. Everything like this stays the same. You don't touch that. You are going to want to click your generate support. I use basically what Simplify 3D gives me here. I don't like to do 3 shells because again it requires and uses more filament. I print usually at 2mm layer height. That's kind of a sweet spot. You can do 1500, which is higher resolution, but whether you use 1500 or 0.2000, you're still going to have to do the cleanup. So 2 is a sweet spot. 0.2 is a sweet spot. Nothing here, nothing there. The temperatures that I use, I leave my bed at 60 degrees. For my extruder, I usually do 210 or 215. Right now it's kind of cold, so 215 is a good temperature for PLA Plus, or the PLA Plus I'm using. We're going to get to filament here in a second, so I'm not going to jump the gun. Cooling, I don't touch nothing. The speeds, okay, so this is going to be the default speed it's going to give you for the CR10. 2400, it's good, but it's a lot slower. I do about 3200 millimeters per minute. It's a little faster, but it works just fine on the CR10. You could go even higher on the CR10, but you'll start the resolution will downgrade a little bit. So 32 or 3000 is pretty good for millimeters per minute. You might have millimeters per second, I'm not sure, so you'll have to do the calculation on that. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's our profile there. Let's print it, or prepare to print it, should I say. So it might take a minute depending on your computer for it to render this. Okay, so there is our rendered file. Now your computer is going to slow down quite a bit at this point, but that's okay. And up here we have our estimated build time, which is 27 hours to print. It's probably going to be closer to 30 hours. Don't worry too much about that, but be a little prepared. I mean, if it's going to take 30 hours to print this, you're going to need to start with a pretty fresh roll. You should be able to get probably at least 2 to 3 pieces, probably most of the chest and maybe like half the back printed on one roll, depending on how you orient it. Don't quote me on that though. So we want to save our files to our SD card. Okay, as you can see, I have quite a bit of files saved on here. So there is our chest cut 1. Let's go ahead and save it to our SD card. Now that's going to put the G code to tell the printer exactly how to print this mechanically. And we got our piece saved. Let's grab our SD card. Let's snag this thing and let's get to printing. And that is what you will do with each subsequent piece. You'll basically do the exact same thing, get everything saved on your SD card, and once it's on there, we can finally get printing. Now this is the exciting part. Let's go do it, guys. So before we go to our printer and get started and load up our SD card, we need filament. What is filament? Filament is extruded plastic that makes our plastic parts. Now I just bought some filament off of Amazon. That was a great deal, and I'm going to show you the filament I use. The filament I use is Sunlu PLA Plus. As you can see right there, I use the PLA Plus Black. Why I use PLA Plus is it's not finicky. If you start using plastics like ABS and PETG, which are a little bit stronger, have quite a bit more thermal resistance, they get a little bit more finicky. But this PLA Plus from Sunlu, it just works awesome right out of the box. You don't got to worry about warping. It does have some thermal resistance. What is thermal resistance? That's you wearing your suit out in the sun. You don't want to melt like the Wicked Witch of the West. You want to be able to wear it for about an hour or two at least in the sun. Now you're not going to want to wear it in 100-degree weather. That would just be miserable anyway. But if you're in the 80s and the 70s, maybe low 90s, I wouldn't even push it in that. You should be fine with a PLA Plus. So this is the filament I use. Let's get it loaded up. All right, let's get our roll on. Okay, we're going to feed our filament into this Bowden tube. Now, what is a Bowden extruder? It is an extruder with a hot end that's being extruded over here from this stepper motor, and it is pushing and extruding the filament through this PTFE tube, through this hot end. It's like a hot glue gun that is melting the plastic and building your model layer by layer. I'm going to show you right now exactly how it looks. We are going to make our way to whatever 3D printer we have bought. For this demonstration, I am going to use my CR10S. I know the profile we did was for the CR10S Pro V2, but the G code will be exactly the same for the original CR10. So we're just going to demonstrate what it's going to look like once you start up. It's pretty much going to look the same in whatever FDM printer you buy. So we have our SD card here that has the G code that we just saved. You're going to put it in wherever your SD card slot is on the Ender 3. The original one, it's down there. It's going to vary on whatever printer you have, but most of them have micro SD card slots. So we put that in. Turn your printer on. I am going to want to print from SD. And there is our chest cut 1. I don't know if my phone is picking that up. There it is. All I want to do is click that, and we should get started. It's going to start heating the bed. These take quite a while. So we are about heated up here. This should start any second now, and we are going to see how our first layer lays down. One of many. The first layer is very important, guys, if you're new to this. If your first layer lays down, it's almost a guarantee the rest of your print is going to come out great. That's not in all cases because it really depends on how you orient it. Okay, so that looks like it's laying down pretty good, guys, from what I can tell. Now you can always adjust the print bed on these older printers as this first layer is laying down. but that looks pretty good to me. I'm sure most of you got the more updated stuff that has the auto bed leveling, and you probably ain't got to worry about that. But that looks good. That looks like it's going to lay down really well. It's just doing the outline at the moment. But that's what it's going to look like when you start. And many hours later, you'll come back and hopefully your piece is standing there just right and you can pull it right off. So when your print's done, guys, it should look something like this. You'll pull it off the bed, and there she goes. There is the first piece, the first part of the glory you'll receive until you finish the whole entire suit. And when you have each individual piece printed, it'll start looking something like this. As you can see here, I've already started gluing together one side of the chest that I have printed. We're not going to jump into how I glue everything together. That is going to be the next video. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to really give you a general idea of what to expect when you start 3D printing. This is what it's going to look like. Pretty much an over-glorified, oversized model kit. One thing I wanted to show you guys when it comes to bed sizes, the CR10 is a lot larger. It's one of the largest beds that you can get that's affordable for a DIY desktop printer. But the Ender 3 has somewhat of a much smaller bed. But I wanted to show you, this is the largest piece of the chest, okay? And it still can fit on an Ender 3. The Ender 3 height goes up to right about there, and yeah, it's no problem. So this smaller printer, which is a lot cheaper, will work just fine. You don't have to have the super large print bed. You can save yourself a lot of money and print the majority of the suit with no issues on an Ender 3.
So guys, I really hope that this video helped you out. I know a lot of you are aspiring or ambitious to build this suit and to build other suits. So I really wanted to do a video dedicated to just showing you kind of what to expect when you get into this. I know the information might be overload. There's so many other topics and discussions we could have branched off in, but those are just separate videos, like what exactly kind of printer to use, the difference between FDM and resin printing, and intricate little details like that. But you don't need to know all that. You just need to know in simplicity exactly what you need to get started. Most of the printers, they all do the exact same thing. So whatever printer you choose, whatever bed size you choose, it doesn't really matter. These are the essentials that you're going to need to get you in the right direction to get started on this suit. And I'm going to keep going step by step on how I build this for you guys. So just bear with me, go on this journey with me, and I'll try to help you guys out as much as possible. If you ever need any help, my email is in my YouTube description. Send me an email. I love helping. I love answering any kind of questions you guys might have if I might have missed something. And I know I probably missed something, guys. So yeah. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I sincerely hope this helps. Get out there, get your dream suit, get your dream prop. It's not that far off. It's closer than you think. Go after it. If I can do it, trust me, you can do it too. I didn't know anything, just like you when I started this. I knew nothing. It was overwhelming. It seemed like a lot of information, but I wanted it so bad, and I know you do too, so go get it. You can do it. Thank you.